Welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available in podcast form. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. We always welcome your questions and comments. Hit us up by email at dj@ArtistFirst.com. And here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man, and we're just going to open the show with a hum.
Oh, dear.
Not sure if that's coming through. And I don't think that was authentic either.
Oh.
No. But I am Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And she's Margaret. And tonight, because we've been giving you guys some heavy things to think about over the last few months, and we know you're worn out, tired, just ready for anything that will be a lighter topic. So tonight we're going to talk about something that is a lighter topic, but we'll try our best to make it dull. And that topic is hummingbirds. Now, this will not be a show on ornithology because neither of us are qualified.
This is true.
But the hummingbird has graced our environs lately. Because it is a warmer time of the year up here in northern New Jersey. And we were struck, by how much mythology, both Native American mythology as well as even Eastern mythos and all really throughout every culture that is associated with hummingbird, with the actual, physical representation. And also how much sort of magic and mystery there is about the actual animal itself. It is among all species of birds the only one that can fly backwards, powered flight backwards. Its ability to fly has earned it the reputation, sort of the spirit being reputation of that which of a being which opens dimensional doors. That is associated with, a very high frequency of energy, and so we thought we would hum lyrical about the hummingbird and talk a little bit about, why we find them so incredibly fascinating, as well as sort of the energetic meanings of hummingbird, the medicinal sort of. Not that you should eat them or lick them or anything like that, and the physical manifestations of the hummingbird and its sort of a relationship to us as a spirit animal or a totem. So, with that, let's into our hummingbird.
Alrighty.
I mean, they are fascinating. The quote that we're going to put up on the website, if not soon, if not now, was a beautiful sort of. It's almost like a koan, it's or a haiku. It wasn't written by a Japanese. In fact, the gentleman who is attributed to, I believe, is Tibetan. And do you want to read it, or would you like me to?
Oh, I can read it. It is by Chogyam Trungpa. Gentle day's flower, the hummingbird competes with the stillness of the air.
Mm. And they do exactly that. They hang, they hover in the air and move with such incredible precision that, first of all, you can't even see their wings. You can't see. It is as though they are unsupported. And everywhere they go, they bring this amazing hum, this amazing frequency, which, interestingly enough, we looked it up because we were interested. It's a beat that is too low a frequency for human ears to hear. It's really sub 60 hertz. Yet the sound that we hear is one of the overtones, or probably several of the overtones of that frequency. And so those overtones are also known as harmonics. We were looking it up, and actually the universal the Aum, which is 432 hertz or something like that. I know we looked it up, but I don't remember it. But it turns out that the eighth harmonic, or the eighth chakra, if you will, of the hummingbird's hum, it falls directly into the same frequency as the Aum.
Mm-hmm. The hum, the noise, that vibration of their wings, and when you hear it, you cannot really describe it because it is so deep and pulsating that everything in you pays attention to this. Hummingbird is, as you said, if you took the harmonics of the wing beats and you brought it to the eighth harmonic, or how would you describe a harmonic for?
It's like if you the easiest way to think about a harmonic is it's like a resonance. We often talk on the Soul of the Everyman about resonance. And what resonance, like a tuning fork, which is a good example of resonance, what resonance does, it means is the energy of the vibration is exactly matched to what's vibrating. And what happens then is the actual vibrations build one atop another until it becomes sort of a what they call a standing wave or a universal wave. Just to digress for a second, every material has its own innate resonance, as do we. We are resonant beings. And really down to our quanta that make up everything in the universe, it all has a resonance. And we talked many times about string theory and so on. But in fact, the resonances are intimately tied with what is resonating. So if I have a resonance, it bespeaks of me, it bespeaks my being. When you talk about harmonics, these are even divisions of your resonance. If your resonance is 1, the second harmonic is half of 1, so on. When you talk about the hummingbird's resonance, well, his resonance is 55, let's say. But when you bring that to the 8th harmonic, you're dividing it by 8, but that also increases the frequency. It's a silly relationship, but one is the opposite of the other. So the higher the frequency you have, the greater number of resonances you can fit within your being. So people, for argument's sake, if you say this one has a low frequency, it means that they only have, let's say, a very limited number of resonances within their being.
Well, it's a very base resonance. In other words,
right.
It's to the point of the being able to hit substance or material.
Right. And this isn't wrong in the sense that our base resonance is also our root. It's also our ground. You need to be in touch with your base resonance. But when you move up through the chakras, to move up through the resonant bodies in your being, you're increasing your frequency each time. Frequency is like a tick-tock of a clock. So tick-tock is one wave from tick to tock and back. When you are in your base, you're at that fundamental boom, boom, like your heartbeat, boom, you're like your breath. That's your base resonance. But then as you raise that up, you go faster, but you also get higher. You get brighter. You get more radiant. And so the hummingbird's resonance, let's say its base resonance, is 8 times below Aum. But it's
the universal Aum.
Right. But what we hear, because our ears really aren't designed to hear things that are very low, you can feel the pulsing in your chest. You know, something, let's say 4th of July is happening, and you feel those firecrackers going off. You don't hear them as much as feel them. Boom! The big bumps are felt through your body, but your ears can hear frequencies which are low, but not necessarily that low. The ear's ability to hear something which is 55 hertz is more like a resonance that is like a tapping on your head. But at Aum, you're at the universal that I'm probably doing it wrong, but that universal frequency is connected to Hummingbird. It's connected to us too. It's connected to all things. Yet it was sort of a beautiful sort of syzygy, if you will, between what we found out about the hummingbird and what we found out about Aum, and that the fact that they're eight divisions apart from each other, because of course we have the 7 chakras, and when you get up to the 7th, you're at the crown, and you're going up into spirit, and the 8th, So it's
it's interesting then, because you're looking at hummingbird as a base frequency,
yeah,
which is amazing.
yeah.
I know that hummingbird, if you go into American Indian medicine, hummingbird medicine, it takes up the north, direction of north. And it has a lot to do with invisibility, as they call it. Yeah, because let's face it, when you're watching a hummingbird and then suddenly it decides to go, to your eyes, it's like it's there and then it's not.
Right.
Where did it go?
Right.
And even with the poem that the Tibetan monk had put down, it's talking about stillness of the air. And when you're watching a hummingbird, you really cannot see its wings. It just looks like it's floating there. So when it's hovering in that stillness, it's absolutely complete in that moment, and then gone. So that, in a nutshell, is an allegory to how your consciousness state is. And you're supposed to reside in this stillness.
Yes.
That you can travel anywhere.
Yes.
Which is probably one of the reasons why hummingbird was always looked on as an animal that can go through to other worlds.
Right.
Because it disappears and reappears.
I mean, it's interesting because other birds too. Eagle is considered to be the messenger up to spirit, but in this case, hummingbird, it hasn't got the majesty of eagle, but it's got the magic. I remember, just as you mentioned that about when you see certain sand paintings, the North will have the hummingbird totem. And you've probably seen it and not noticed. It's sort of a stylized looking hummingbird. It usually has its wings out and has the beak up, and it's got this beautiful colors. And the colors are something interesting too. Oftentimes, at least in our area, there's only one or two hummingbirds that actually appear in this area. But people are always struck if you see a male hummingbird with the intensity of their colors. And the interesting thing about them, of course, like many other birds, starlings is another good example, is the colors really aren't pigments. They aren't painted in these beautiful shimmering colors. These colors are actually breaking up the frequency of white light into the rainbow, but a piece of the rainbow in this case. The ruby-throated hummingbird, which is a very common one in this area, his true color, the pigment, is actually black. But
his feather color is actually black.
Black, but that the quills have the ability like a I'll say it, and it's something that's known as a diffraction grating. You don't have to worry about what a diffraction grating is, but the interesting thing about it is when light, which is a very high frequency, and it's all frequencies. White light is all the frequencies of color that we can see. when that white light shines on this particular material, this type of material has an effect at the wavelength level, at the resonant level with that light. It resonates with certain parts of the light and absorbs it, and it resonates with certain parts of the light and re-emits it or reflects it. And so what you get is like a prism in one respect, that breaks light into all different colors. But in this case, this particular material, this black pigment on these hummingbirds, emits light of a specific frequency. So you're seeing a pure light, which is being emitted from this being, from this tiny little being. And so if you don't catch it in the right, like a rainbow, if you don't catch it at the right angle, you don't see much of anything. But at the right angle, it blazes at you with the same brilliance of the light that's coming in. So these guys are beaming this light around everywhere they go, because even though you don't see it, it's still being beamed around. They're capturing whatever light comes in, and they're beaming it out at this new pure frequency. Even their backs and their sides have this sort of ability to purify the light and turn it into the color that they're trying to send out. And lots of birds have this. This isn't unique to just hummingbirds, but it's sort of a as you said, an analog or an analogy of an allegory, which is even better, of the way these little animals represent the morphing, the modification of frequencies. They take something in and they re-radiate it out. In this case, with their wings, they're re-radiating out the aum. With their bodies, with their feathers and their pigments, they're re-radiating out this beautiful heart red and these beautiful greens, these kind of beautiful rainbow iridescent greens. And that's part of, I think, what makes them, it's what takes our breath away when the hummingbird comes, because I think everyone's had this experience. You're just kind of standing around doing nothing, and all of a sudden you hear this, this incredible hum, and it catches your attention instantly, and you freeze. And it's not because you're afraid. It's just it's so unexpected. It captures your attention, and then all of a sudden, if you're lucky, it literally will stop and look at you, hovering in the air on a dime, like it appeared out of nowhere, and just looks at you. And the other thing about hummingbirds, Margaret, is, of course, they're fearless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely fearless.
Yeah, I don't know of any bird that would challenge a hummingbird.
Mm-mm.
They're just so fast, so precise in their movements that most birds understand that they can be bested. In anything like that, especially when you think about the fact that it's so maneuverable. The fact it can fly backwards, it must freak out the other birds. Like, oh my gosh.
But I think they're also fearless when it comes to people. They're not. When you step out of your house and there's birds in the yard, they just scatter. You can't catch them, but they're not brave. They're startled and they run. The hummingbird is completely in and of, centered and grounded and of itself. It just comes by and looks at you. It says, not a flower.
Yep.
And there's wonderful videos, if you ever have a chance to take a look at them. People who have, the hummingbirds have become so totally acclimated to them that they'll actually eat out of their hands. There's a couple where people are holding a flower, and there's a hummingbird just coming by and sipping out of the flower, and they're completely, they're not tame. They're just fearless. They don't care about you. They know that there's no way that this dull matter can even approach capturing them.
Right. We're just too slow and big.
Right. So, but they're also, as many birds are, but hummingbirds are, they're extremely curious creatures. They're very in tune with their environment, and this is another good analog for why they fascinate us. They know exactly where everything is in their local environments because they move at a faster than sight speed and stop instantly, millimeters away from exactly where they want to be, and their tongue flicks out. Bloop, and they go, and there's no fluttering around, there's no clutching, there's no perching, there's no fumbling, they just dip.
It would be very interesting if it was possible to see how their brain patterning works when they're flying around, when they decide to fly backwards. What parts of their tiny brain is activated.
You say it. There are insects that do this.
Okay.
And they have the compound eyes. Well, these guys don't have that. So they have this awareness even without having eyes in the back of their head, literally.
Well, what I'm wondering is if they have an image of their surroundings almost holographically in their head.
Yeah.
Because they move so precisely that they're moving, and you don't even know if they're actually looking where they're moving. They're just moving.
Exactly.
So and they are exceedingly territorial. So do they set a map in their head and just move along in that vein? Be a fascinating study.
Exactly. The level at which they live. I mean, again, we're talking about physical entities. Their metabolisms are extremely high, and you say to yourself, okay, something that small to maintain its body temperature is extremely difficult. Insects are not warm-blooded, but these are warm-blooded creatures. They have actually a fairly high body temperature, and they exist on nothing but nectar. And maybe a couple of insects if they happen to get in the way of the nectar. Whoops, bug, just slurp that thing up. So we also have, they, keep saying we, they also have the ability to modify their energy, modify their frequency. So a hummingbird, which all day long is operating at let's say the 8th level, at its highest metabolism, is able to at night, when it can't sip sugar every 10 minutes, put itself into, in essence, a state of pseudo hibernation. They literally can go all the way down past their base frequency to even lower frequency and be able to last through the night on not enough energy reserves. If they were living at the level they're living at and couldn't eat every 10 minutes, they would keel over. But they don't. In fact, they're incredibly resilient. So this is also that kind of...
they lower their body metabolism to the point where they are in a stasis.
Almost, yeah.
And as you said, almost like a hibernation until the next day.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating thought. It's like, I'm just going to turn every function of my body way down. It's like you're able to, instead of doing, what's the average, 60 beats a minute?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it down to 10.
Right, as though we could do that.
As if we could do that.
Right. And isn't it fascinating that, there are, with discipline and mindfulness and the ability to totally introspect, there are gurus and monks and so on that can do that. They can literally raise and lower the autonomic functions of their body, their heart rate. We have control over our breathing, but we have little direct control over our heart rate. Well, but they do. They have the ability to raise and lower their body temperature, and that comes from deep connections in the brain. We're talking about the part of the brain which is connected to the autonomic nervous system, as well as the whole vagus nerve, the very primitive nervous system, which goes down and connects to the mesentery and what they call the gut brain. So when you're connected there, you have the ability to modify your autonomic systems, your heart rate, your adrenals, your glandular system is connected to this vagus nerve, and
Yep.
the pons and the brainstem and what keeps you functioning when you're not paying attention,
Thank goodness.
is all connected to this. So moving awareness down and connecting into that is difficult for us, but hummingbirds are literally born with this as part of their mechanism. They have the ability to traverse everything from the highest frequencies that they can manage and live at, all the way down to their base frequency of their metabolism, not just their heart rate, but their whole metabolism, turning it down on a nightly basis, all the way down to basically, like, dum, dum, just maybe even slower than that for all I know. So they show us, in essence, that incredible flexibility, or that incredible facility of being able to connect all the way through all the chakras down into the root, all the chakras all the way up to the eighth, as part of their example of just their being, their essence.
Mm-hmm. And if man is disciplined enough, you too would be able to do this. That is part of what, if someone has hummingbird as a totem, it is something that can be taught to that person who has hummingbird as the totem. It is an energetic skill level. The monks also are able to control their body temperatures and their heartbeat, and it is through breath control. And through breath control, they are able to facilitate a higher level of oxygen in their bloodstream, so that they are able to take in more oxygen, bathe the entire brain in oxygen, as well as the heart function. And if you are able to use full capacity of your lungs to take the most oxygen out, you can direct it. They can direct it to the parts of the body that they need it. So the discipline of melting snow as you sit in the snow around you.
Right.
Then you just sit there, and when they come back, everything around you is
melted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take a little hum break. This has been see how nice and light this has been. You guys we're all entertaining, and on the other side, we'll try to find something dark and boring to talk about.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is book one of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time. The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lynes, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, the Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Hi, this is Hannah Ruth from the band Wild Hum. Check out our new Americana Soul CD, Wild Hum, at our website, wildhum.music.com. And you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Thank you.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief, Dev, is back. And the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side, as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Brag Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Thanks for joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Line.
And this has been Ornithology World. But welcome back to The Soul of Everyman. And it's not Ornithology World, but tonight we are talking about hummingbirds. And they are a fascinating animal from many points of view, but I think we touched on it a little bit in the last half hour. I think we should go into a little bit more about the spiritual aspects. I mean, I should say the identification of this particular animal with the energies and with the sort of cultural aspects. I know that in Native American culture there is a hummingbird dance. I believe it's probably Navajo, but if it's not, it's something out there.
I don't know.
Where they have probably this medicine wheel and this northern. You were mentioning it's being attached to the northern regions, of the 4 regions of the medicine wheel. The totem itself is associated with dimension doors. It's associated with being able to walk between the worlds. It's also, if you have the hummingbird as the spirit animal, it's supposed to be very high frequency. It's supposed to be light, light, in essence, bringing light into you, bringing light into your spirit. It's something which I think also appeals to everybody in the sense that, like Tolle, when you see a hummingbird, it's like it takes you out of your normal existence. It instantly fascinates you. It instantly quiets your mind. It puts you into that wow that Tolle is already talking about, when you stop the constant internal, I got to do this, I got to do that, here's this, here's that, and it just puts you into the and you don't even hear the words hummingbird. You're just frozen, and all your senses open up, and you have this wonderful, amazing hum, which we know now the eighth harmonic, that frequency of their wings is what we're hearing, and you have this these colors, which are these pure, bright, brilliant, structural colors coming into your eyes, and you have this idea, or rather this sense, that you're being appraised, evaluated. You're being looked at.
Something is looking at you.
It's not a dull thing. It's a very bright, beaming regard that these hummingbirds give you, and it's intense. And your immediately your attention is fixed upon this bird, not because it's a threat, or not because it's somehow going to do something. It's not going to do a trick like a squirrel will. It literally is capturing a portion of your brain which is below the constant ego, ga ga ga, do, and it's like, boom. You're being looked at, and you're being regarded at a level below your ego. You're being looked at and saying, "You, not a flower." but it's not a judgment as much as it's just a, you're kind of cool. You're not a flower, but I'm going to give you a good look, and then it's gone. And for seconds or even minutes afterward, you'll find yourself just trying to replay that encounter, because it is an encounter. It's not just it's not just something that happens like, oh well, here a car goes by. No, it's an encounter. You've been visited by something which is almost like a spirit. And
well, first of all, it's non-human.
Non-human, but you're getting a real good
But there is an intelligence.
Yes, you feel as though you're in the presence of something which you could almost talk to, and it's almost like you can feel it kind of communicating to you, and it vanishes, and you just sit there, and moments will go by when you're frozen and thinking about this experience, and then you'll want to find somebody. I just saw a hummingbird. and all of a sudden you're like 2 years old and running off to tell anybody in the world that you just saw a hummingbird, because it is such a novel encounter that it freezes you. It takes you away from everything you were doing. You're no longer concerned with anything that was on your mind. You're like, I just saw a hummingbird. I got to tell somebody. And then if you've seen them once, you want to see them again. You want to have this encounter with this incredibly self-possessed being. It's similar in some ways to meeting a dolphin, or meeting something which has this high level of intelligence, this high level of regard, this sense of its own presence.
Right.
Hummingbirds are self-possessed. They know what the heck's going on. You are part of their environment. You are just a thing that they're looking at and you're going, looks okay. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at this. It's part of my environment. I am now looking at this. I'm regarding it.
Well, a hummingbird is looked at as the being that can open your heart. Okay, in hummingbird medicine, as they call it, it is the being that is supposed to be able to engage you so completely from the heart level, that in that meeting with the hummingbird, your heart opens, and suddenly you are in the moment of now.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. You are instantly transported into a being state from whatever you were doing before
Right.
You are suddenly being.
And because it's able to open the heart chakra, it stills the mind from talking. And what Hummingbird also represents is joy.
Yeah.
It has to do with the ability to receive the nectar of life.
The sweetness.
Mm-hmm. And it's an expression of joy, down to its little fingertips, or rather his feather tips.
Feather tips, yeah.
Yeah. When you think of it, the feather structure itself is a crystalline structure that basically breaks up the light and absorbs some and reflects out in those pure tones. So when you see the reflection of color from a hummingbird, it is literally the color of light. It is not a pigmentation, but actually color. If it's a ruby-throated, that red is pure red light.
It's the rainbow color. It's a piece of the rainbow.
The green that you're seeing is the pure green.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see blue, like bluebirds,
yes,
it is the pure blue light coming from them. It is not a pigmentation.
Right.
Because when you see the feather has no color. It's black.
Right.
But it's the crystalline structure of the barbs that diffract the light in such a way that you get these patterns as well as color.
Right.
It's understanding that this is what you're supposed to be doing with your world. Create that light and beauty and live in it. You are radiating the light as opposed to, okay, I'm painting the face that I'm supposed to, that I think I should be. In other words, like I want to have purple. So I'm putting purple on my body. I'm putting purple clothing on. It's like, no. Be purple.
Right.
You're actually radiating the pure color. It's a whole different way of being. They are interacting with man on the human level in terms of the material, the how do I say this? The physical, corporeal interaction of what body does. But it teaches that you're only this so far away, only this far away from being able to radiate pure light.
Yeah, I love what you just said. The pieces there. I mean, you mentioned earlier the hologram. I mean, the hologram is also a representation of the interference patterns of pure light with a structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so the structural way of turning white light into pure color, pure frequency, is a holographic, or it is a similar sort of physical interaction of energy with matter that transforms the energy into a different pattern. And you also mentioned the being state. This being state that they're talking about is your physicality, which is maybe darting all around the place, is instantly transformed into a being state by this presence, by this regard. You mentioned it's opening the heart. The heart is the being state. The heart is putting you into now. So the hummingbird as a mechanism for presence, as a mechanism for realizing that you are a consciousness, not just is an amazing transformative thing. The way that you can get to this state, there are many ways, but the way that you can get to this being state so incredibly quickly and swiftly by the regard and seeing of this particular experience with this particular animal is, it's not just special, it's somewhat unique. So your heart recognizes this thing as it's not just your cat, for argument's sake, which is a wonderful thing, but it's really kind of a pain in the neck most times when you're on the radio. The cat is not regarding you. It's being a cat, but it has its own little narrative. It's going through I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want this, I want that. Hummingbird isn't doing any of those things. It's coming by to regard you and say, I am in the being state. Experience it for the moment that you see me. And then I may vanish, but you've had the experience.
Well, that is the one of the teachings of Hummingbird is that you must be in your moment of now, or you miss it, because I come and I go.
Yeah.
So you have the moment of having your heart activated or heart opened in an instant. But are you prepared? Are you present enough to participate in that?
Yeah.
It is a reminder. I look at Hummingbird as a catalyst to allow the human consciousness to remember what it is to be present. Because in that present moment, if you take in all the teachings of Hummingbird, you will be able to do all things that Hummingbird does, including going into stasis with your body, absolute control, and being able to be free. Because Hummingbird has to do with freedom.
Yeah.
In the present moment, completely there, you are free.
They have this amazing, because of the way they move, you see they're not bound to any structure. They don't need a perch. They don't appear to need a ground to be upon. They need nothing. They literally just dart. I want to, before we go too far and we lose the moment, this koan that was written down by the Tibetan monk, it has that exact sort of feeling that we've been talking about a little bit. I think he was trying to capture that gentle day's flower is also a metaphor for dawn, for the beginning of the day. And the stillness of dawn is complemented by this hummingbird, which, although it's certainly, its wings are certainly moving and it's certainly darting about, it's able to come to the moment, to the absolute stillness of the moment, yet still be in incredible motion, one with its environment, being in that environment, as you mentioned, like a hologram, knowing where everything is in its local environment. However it does that with its brain, and certainly it just has, it doesn't have compound eyes like an insect where it sees in all directions. It has what appear to be two fairly normal eyes, but yet it has the ability to integrate all the images, all the light from everything that's all around it, and know where it is. It's going directly backwards. It doesn't have nothing in the back to say, well, beep, beep. There's no sensor back there.
No rear view mirror.
No rear view mirror. and yet it stops instantly where it wants to, turns on a dime, and
Jets off.
and jets off or goes for the flower that it was looking for. The ability to do that without appearing to, you move without telegraphing your movement. When we walk, you're this giant leg is, and then it goes, sits down, boosh, and then the next thing, and the next thing. It's quite evident where we're going. With Hummingbird, it's sitting there as though it's suspended in the air, and you don't know. It could go in the next moment. It could go anywhere. It could just vanish. It could go 2 millimeters over, or vanish from your sight in the same amount of time. So it has no. There's no indication of its next motion except in its intention. It's almost like crystalline intention. It's there because it intends to be there, and then it's 2 millimeters away because it intends to go that far. It wasn't accidental. It didn't just stumble over there.
Yeah, no, there's no hesitation. All its movements are quite deliberate.
Yes.
Which is why I'm wondering whether or not it has some type of holographic system running through its head.
I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, on its location, where it happens to be in that present moment.
It could be tied into SATCOM.
Oh, dear.
I don't know. This is HumNet. But that's the other thing is, we mentioned this earlier, the regard that you get from a hummingbird stops your ego in its tracks. It instantly puts you into a being state. It stops your ego, stops your mental, and you are realizing that you're being evaluated, looked at, categorized, and it realizes also that you are another being because it calls to your being. That is something that you don't get from some people, and you get it almost immediately from this creature.
The hummingbird is aware.
It calls you up.
Well, it stops the noise.
It stops the noise.
And because as we've called it, it's the monkey mind that wants to swing from thought to thought, this thought tree to that thought tree. Let me grab that branch. Oh, here's a banana. I mean, it just goes and does whatever.
Whatever.
But when a hummer is there, it engages you, and it engages you on multiple levels.
Mm.
That, I think, is fascinating because it's the beauty, it's radiating light, and if you catch it at just the right angle, I mean, you have to be at the right angle to see its colors.
Mm.
And that's another thing. When things start flashing colors at you, your head goes, oh. You become very aware, like, what is going on? And the regard is there. There's an intelligence behind the eyes. And joy of movement. You always get that feeling of joy of movement with hummingbird. There's nothing malicious going on when it's regarding you. Because when there's a malicious intent behind eyes, that's not what a hummingbird has. He's just looking at you going, oh, it's you.
Oh, it's you. There's a... Exactly. You feel as though you're in the presence of another being, as you do when you see a cetacean, when you see a dolphin, when you see the great apes and so on. There's a regard there that is not in other animals.
When the regard is there, the other thing that pops up is that there is respect there.
Mm.
Okay, you respect this other being. So you're not going to disregard it or pretend it doesn't exist or try to swat at it.
Right.
Okay. The regard is there, so the respect is there, and that's a baseline interaction on this world. When the regard is there, you give the respect of space, not just physical space, but space to fill it's space given or room to given to have an interaction with the other being.
Right, a being space. Exactly right. That's a very good insight, because in essence, when you see a being, there's a space made for it.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you say this is not a thing, nor is it just an animalistic, an insect that's moving. This is a being which is regarding me and requiring my regard, and putting me into a state where I must respond as a being. When you have a relationship with somebody, they put you into a being state. You have to come up to it. There are certain human beings with their frequency makes you come up to their frequency. A hummingbird does that to all of us. It makes us come up to its frequency. It's not going to come down and be a cat who wants whatever you want. But sorry, this cat is at me. But this hummingbird comes not to get you to do something, but to say, come up to my being state and be with me for a little while.
The phrase I would use when I would talk to the children is, I want to see you behind your eyes.
Exactly.
And that's when you're calling their soul forward so that you can have a conversation. I don't want some random piece of you. I want to speak with you.
Right.
And apparently we have reached the end of our hour.
And we want to speak with you more, but we can't. So I'm Michael Lyons.
Oh my, and I'm Margaret. And thank you for listening.